I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. We're coming on the air here with live coverage on the Carolina Weather Group because we have a considerable flash flood warning that has been issued for Mecklenburg County, including the city of Charlotte. We'll take you right into right now what's happening here in Charlotte, and we do have this prolonged thunderstorm that is impacting most of the county right now and has been for the better course of an hour or so, and that's what has led the National Weather Service to go ahead and issue this considerable tier severe flash flood warning. What do we mean by considerable tier? Well, a lot of times when we get severe thunderstorm warnings or we get flash flood warnings, they come out as base tier. Well, this is one notch up from that. That is the level of the impact that they envision that this will be having. And we have live cameras right now across Mecklenburg County that show that roadways are flooding. We'll show those to you in just a moment. There is a third tier that would be even worse, even higher than this. That's called destructive. And hopefully we don't get there tonight. But let's go ahead and start off by reading you the bulletin right now from the National Weather Service office in Greenville, Spartanburg, which went ahead and issued this considerable flash flood warning for Mecklenburg County, including the city of Charlotte, at about 8:30. This goes until 11:30 tonight because Doppler radar and automated rain gauges across the county are continuing to measure this heavy rain from this thunderstorm. Between 1 and 2.5 inches of rain have already fallen. Let me say that again. Between 1 and 2.5 inches of rain have already fallen, with another 1 to 2 inches possible until this thunderstorm finally rains itself out. So flash flooding is ongoing and is expected to continue, and more flash flooding could still be created in areas that are not already seeing this flash flooding. As I mentioned, this does include the city of Charlotte and Uptown Charlotte, but does also include areas of the area including Huntersville, Mint Hill, Pineville, the Plaza, SouthPark Mall, Freedom Park, Hidden Valley, Paw Creek, Charlotte Douglas International Airport, which is an absolute mess right now. We will talk about in just a moment. It does include the Arboretum Shopping Center, but not Matthews, Reedy Creek, and the University City area, and Carowinds. You can see it on the map here outlined in green. It is most of the county. Even down towards Steel Creek. And if we switch this on over to radar estimated rainfall totals so far, you can see why they extended it down towards Carowinds through Steel Creek into portions of southwest Mecklenburg County, because that's where we're getting rainfall estimates. 1 to 2 inches possible until this thunderstorm finally rains itself out. So flash flooding is ongoing and is expected to continue, and more flash flooding could still be created in areas that are not already seeing this flash flooding. As I mentioned, this does include the city of Charlotte and Uptown Charlotte, but does also include areas of the area, including Huntersville, Mint Hill, Pineville, the Plaza, SouthPark Mall, Freedom Park, Hidden Valley, Paw Creek, Charlotte Douglas International Airport, which is an absolute mess right now. We will talk about in just a moment. It does include the Arboretum Shopping Center, but not Matthews, Reedy Creek, and the University City area, and Carowinds. You can see it on the map here outlined in green. It is most of the county. of almost 5 inches based on the radar. Now, that's probably overplaying it a little bit based on what the Weather Service bulletin has said, which was 2.5, which is an incredible amount of rain already. But you can just kind of get the idea. Now, I'm looking right now from the Columbia radar, and you've heard us time and time again talk about how difficult radar is here in Charlotte. So if I ask the Greenville Spartanburg radar for an estimate, this might be a little bit more accurate. But again, we're still seeing pockets of at least 2 to 3 inches of rain, maybe even more, maybe even more beyond what the warning itself says. Because you can see down here towards Steel Creek, this is going to be South Tryon Street, 485 and 77 near Arrowwood, about 4 inches. So this is near like the Microsoft campus. But then we're also getting amounts about 3 inches over towards Bojangles, over towards the Eastland Mall area. And you can see that along Albemarle Road there. Now, whether or not they decide to expand this, we will see. And so here is what we are tracking in terms of actual impacts on the ground. Mecklenburg County has a fabulous network of cameras, and they pull some of these up. You can already see where the water has come over some of these roadways. So, for instance, this is a camera at Little Hope Creek at Mockingbird Lane. And you can see at the bottom of the picture there, we've got a telephone pole. That actually is about the right hand side of the road, because then there's typically, and you can just make it out, the top of a railing, and then normally the creek roadway, which is in the foreground, is not even visible. So based on this, you can see that we at least have flowing water coming down Mockingbird Lane at Little Hope Creek here. I'll show you a couple more pictures across the area. Briar Creek at Providence Road is high. It is moving quickly, but it is not yet cresting. We can hopefully scroll this page down. I want to show you McMullen Creek at Addison. This is a pretty frequent flooding area. And that this is why the National Weather Service has decided to use that considerable tag for this warning, because that considerable tag actually activates the wireless emergency alert system on your cell phone. I'm closer to Matthews. I am just outside the warning. So if you're in Mecklenburg County and your phone did not go off, you either have them disabled or you're just outside the warning like I am. But we essentially had most of the whole county activated because of flooding that we are seeing just like this. Now, I do want to scroll this page down. So let me just change one of my sources here. So maybe I can get a scroll bar on this page, because that's going to make our lives a lot easier. And we'll switch that out to dated and populating again. So I want to show you pictures from a couple more areas. This is this an updated picture at Briar Creek? Okay, that's about the same picture. Little Sugar Creek at Moorhead Street. Again, appears to be moving quickly, but hasn't quite reached the let's see. Now, this is an area that I have seen historically, Briar Creek at Shamrock. So you can see that the apartment complex and the roadway off to the right-hand side, they're still fine. But if you look carefully at the picture, you'll notice that we got like the top of some trees, top of some shrubbery there on the right-hand side. So the water has kind of become higher than its usual banks. Luckily, that's a spot that the water has quite a ways to go. But this is an area where we normally have a greenway. Little Sugar Creek at 4th Street. There's supposed to be a greenway down here. Now, mind you, the greenways in Mecklenburg County are designed to flood. So that alone is not a problem, so long as no one is on them. But you can just see that the water level here at Little Sugar Creek at 4th Street is at the bottom of where the leaves are on these trees. And we're going to get you some numbers here for some of these creeks in just a second. We're going through the pictures first, and now I'm going to take you back through and try to read some of these measurements, because this collaboration between Mecklenburg County and the USGS allows us to really, inside Mecklenburg County, really pin down where some of the flooding is occurring. And let's just rank these based on which ones are at an elevated state. So we'll start with Little Sugar Creek at Archdale Drive, because you can see that we're at 12.74 feet right now on the gauge. That is how high the water is here. And what that means is that we've passed the flood stage. The flood stage is just shy of 12. We're just over 12 feet of flooding here at Little Sugar Creek at Archdale Drive. And so that is one of the many reasons the Weather Service has issued this flash flood warning. And you can see how quickly the water came up. So 20 o'clock is at 2.5 feet. And now we're at almost 13 feet an hour later. That's how fast the water is coming up in some of these locations. Does this one have a camera attached to it? I'm not sure. We're going to just keep going here, and we'll show you some more of these. You can see where this is located too. So this is located near Park Road Park, near Archdale Drive. Let's go over here to McAlpine Creek at Pineville Matthews Road. And this is what I want. That seems to be broken right now. That one's broken. That one is broken. The last measurement was 8 days ago. That's wrong. Okay, Little Sugar Creek at CMC. That's Carolina Medical Center, Atrium Health. They're just outside Uptown. This floods all the time. Again, it's designed to flood and actually has risen to 12 feet, which is just shy of flood stage at 13.5 feet. So this one is not at flood stage, but you can see again how quickly this came up. So if we had people out for some reason, and I hope we didn't because this thunderstorm has been lingering over us for some time, this is an area that is frequented by pedestrians and runners and bikers, and that's underwater right now. That's, if you know Kings Drive, if you know, what's the photography shop right there? That's what we're talking about over by the Dunkin' Donuts. Little Sugar Creek at Hillside here. Again, this is going to be just south of Freedom Park, between Freedom Park and Park Road Park. This one is at its flood stage, okay? And you can actually see, and this is really helpful because these numbers all sound super scary. But, about an hour or so ago, we don't want to look at elevation. We want to look at water level. Thank you. You can see we were at about a foot, and now we've climbed to 12 feet. Yeah, we went from a foot to 12 feet. And that's just because this thunderstorm is just parked over us and is not moving very quickly. Matter of fact, if I check the warning again from the National Weather Service, do I even have a forward momentum on this thunderstorm? I'm not sure that I really do. But I do have updated text. From the National Weather Service. They went ahead and updated their considerable flash flood warning here for Mecklenburg County. So let me read that to you. Okay, so at 9 o'clock, which is right now, they're continuing to track this thunderstorm, which, as you just saw, is populating alarms on automated gauges. Between 2 to 4 inches of rain have fallen. Radar's trying for maybe a little closer to 5, but they're saying with the gauges on the ground, the actual buckets that are collecting water, 4 inches of rain have fallen. An additional half inch to 1 inch are possible. So that number has gone down since their 8:30 update, because between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, we went from more rain is possible to that rain has now. They still think that this thunderstorm, which is weakening, could produce another half inch to 1 inch of rain in addition to what it already has. Widespread flash flooding is occurring throughout the county, including but not limited to Irwin, Stewart, Little Sugar, Briar, McMullen, McAlpine basins. Several water rescues are in progress. I'm going to try to get you some more information about that in just a moment. They are calling this a life-threatening situation for anyone who might be living along waterways near rivers, creeks, or streams, or anyone who is caught in a vehicle. If you are out driving and for some reason listening to the sound of my voice and you see water on the roadway, turn around, don't drown is more than just a saying. It can save your life because you won't know how deep that water is. Now, when they reissued this at 9 o'clock, they left the same geographical space. They have not expanded the actual space where the warning is, but the warning is most of the county. Again, not the whole county, but it is most of the county. Working to get you some additional information by what they mean when they say water rescues are in progress. That typically means cars flooded on roadways. But we don't know exactly yet where those are. As you saw from the Mecklenburg County FINS cameras, which are located along creeks and streams, you can start to get a sense for how some of those flood-prone areas are handling. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch us over, and I just want to quickly look at some traffic cameras along the interstate just to see how those roads are doing. These are tiny, and I know they're tiny, and I'm very sorry about that. If anyone can convince North Carolina Department of Transportation to start streaming these, that would be wonderful. But we can see we got some wet roadways here. Now, the interstates in Charlotte are not prone to flooding. So I'm not really expecting to find any pictures of flooding. But we have these available to us, and we're certainly going to check them. Because obviously interstates are going to be handling a lot of vehicles and a lot of movement. Good news is right now I don't see anything that really screams to me flooding on major roadways. But again, we still have lots of little pictures of flooding on some of these smaller roads. And again, these cameras that Mecklenburg County has in conjunction with the USGS are placed in flood-prone areas. That's not to diminish the threat. Certainly, if I lived near Little Hope Creek along Mockingbird Lane right now, I would be considering whether or not I can leave going the other direction. You don't want to go through the water. Because remember, when we're on here on the Carolina Weather Group and we're talking about severe thunderstorm warnings or we're talking about tornado warnings, we're talking about going to your safe place and we're talking about hunkering down and we're talking about hiding from the wind. Well, water we typically want to run from. And so I don't have any reports right now that any structures are threatened. But certainly when you look at McMullen Creek here at Addison Drive, this is a home right here. And you can see the water is coming up to these lights. Now, I don't know these people, but I'm sure they've seen this before because this floods all the time. And the road goes right through here, left or right across your screen. This little like fencing thing is like the sidewalk. But I hope anybody who lives near a creek or a stream or a low-lying area certainly has some sort of evacuation plan, right? If I live in these apartments, this water is rising. I at least need to be monitoring this situation, if not getting my high priority belongings and people, pets into a car and maybe driving someplace else for a little while because this creek's supposed to be down here. You can see there's some bushes. They're already up in the water and this water is rising. That water is still rising and the water is going to keep rising so long as those storms continue to put down more rain. Because whether it feels like it or not, Charlotte is built around creeks. Yeah, it's built near the Catawba River, certainly, but it's built around creeks. And those creeks are what takes all of the rain falling from the sky, all the runoff from the road, and eventually flows it back down to the Catawba River. But those creeks, there's literally hundreds of miles of these creeks in Mecklenburg County, believe it or not. And they go through neighborhoods, eventually making their way out. And again, we're talking a lot about greenways because the greenways typically are built along these creeks. Let's take a look at Charlotte Douglas International Airport because, my God, let's talk about what's going on here. So all of these planes, all of these planes, all of these planes, all of these planes are planes that have landed and are waiting on gates. If you've been to Charlotte Douglas International Airport, you know the gates are in here. And I think some of these planes are probably at gates. Yep, so like here's a flight that thinks it's going to Newark. The reason that the queue for gates is dozens of planes deep is because no one's leaving. They're all planes that were at gates and either were waiting to load passengers or have loaded passengers, do not have clearance to leave. Now, there's a couple planes still coming inbound. This American Airlines flight from Providence just landed. When you could see, this is a whole queue of planes that are still coming inbound to Charlotte, but no one's going out. So they are out of gates. They cannot get these people off planes because they have nowhere to bring those planes into because they need the planes that are sitting here to go out. Eventually, these planes will start to push back from gates and we'll start to see a line form. Matter of fact, what do we have here? No, these are other planes waiting to come in. Oh my God. We'll eventually start to see a line of planes trying to go out. And as they start to trickle out, planes that are already on the ground will start to trickle in. This is going to take hours to resolve. If my parents or my sister is listening to my voice right now, I'm sorry. You're on one of these. This is a situation Charlotte has dealt with in the past, for better or for worse. It's my understanding that American Airlines has stopped inbound flights from departing airports that were coming to Charlotte. Those flights are not leaving if they were not already in the air. But if they are already in the air, as you can see, they're still coming here, which is interesting. They don't seem to be diverting. Sometimes they'll go to Greensboro or Columbia or Atlanta or wherever, because the weather's either too bad in Charlotte to land or there's nowhere to go. As of right now, flights are still coming in. Where they're going to start parking all these planes coming in, I don't know. Because these planes here in the middle are parked on an inactive runway. So not only are they using all of the little taxiways to park planes, but they are also parking planes on this inactive runway. I say inactive because they very rarely, if ever, land this direction. So that's not an impact. It's not like, oh no, they closed a runway. They didn't. It's just a paved area they can park planes on right now. But there's dozens of planes. Essentially, again, these guys. Yeah, look, if I zoom out so you can see the left hand side of my screen, I'm just going to click on some planes. Okay. So the building is here. The passenger terminal is here. If I click on all these planes, you'll see it on the left-hand side, it says Charlotte. On the right-hand side, it says some other airport. So this is Charlotte to Boston. It hasn't pushed back from the gate yet. But if I just start clicking on these planes, Fayetteville to Charlotte, Wilmington to Charlotte, Little Rock to Charlotte, St. Thomas to Charlotte. These are all planes that came into Charlotte and have nowhere to go. They've landed safely. They are on the ground. But they just have no place to park and get passengers off. So that's going to be a situation that is not going to resolve itself immediately, because if I take you back out to radar, you can see that this thunderstorm is still here. Matter of fact, there are areas of this thunderstorm that are developing new offshoots. You can see right there where I just circled, there's new rain popping up. And the reason that's happening is because some of these storms are collapsing and weakening. Okay. So if you look at where I just circled here, you see it goes from being red to yellow to green, and it's going to eventually disappear. And then what's happening is, and if you look, it's going to be, there's a line or two, right in here. And then there's another one over here. These are called outflow boundaries. So as one thunderstorm collapses, it pushes out air, and that air actually pops off new storms. It's kind of like when you throw a rock into a pond or a body of water and you get those ripples that go out, or the wake of a boat would be another analogy. So as some of these storms are collapsing, they're pushing out outflow boundaries that are then popping up storms in places where there's still moisture and energy that just needs that spark, if you will, to fire up. I will zoom this out because we do also have a flash flood warning elsewhere in the Carolinas. And this goes also till about 11:30 here. And this is for Bertie and Hartford counties in eastern North Carolina. Certainly a serious situation if you are in a high impact area. But the reason I'm focusing so much on Mecklenburg is because this is a base tier flash flood warning. We should take all warnings seriously. And I hope the folks who live out in this area do. But you can see the rain has stopped and that threat is diminishing. Mecklenburg County is a considerable tier. So it's a tier 2 out of 3 in terms of severity of impacts from this flash flood warning. And the rain is still coming down. Some of this thunderstorm has weakened, which is good news. We're getting less yellows and less reds here across like the heart of South Charlotte, for example, in the last couple of radar scans. But there is still plenty of rain coming down. And again, areas where new development is popping off. Is Gaston County going to see flash flooding? It might, especially along, like the South Fork Catawba River, for example. There's no warning there right now, but that's certainly worth monitoring. So do certainly have multiple ways to get severe weather warnings. Your phone is a good way. NOAA Weather Radio is a great way. Broadcast media, of course, is also a good way. Let's refresh here and check our cameras one more time. Here in Mecklenburg County, where this flash flood warning of kind of a considerable level does continue. And again, these cameras update with new pictures every couple of minutes. And so some of these locations where we have some of the newest imagery coming in, we have some areas where the creeks have swollen but have not flooded their banks. Briar Creek and Masonite here, you can still see the bridge. But it's high. It's high, certainly. But again, we've watched Little Hope Creek and Mockingbird Lane a couple times here in South Charlotte, and that still has water flowing down the roadway. This is a roadway. This is why we say turn around, don't drown, because, I can't tell from looking at this, and neither could a driver. Is the road 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 12 inches below that? I simply don't know. Is the road even there underneath it? I don't know. It could have washed away. Little Sugar Creek and Moorhead Street. The bridge is here. That's certainly high. That's certainly high. Little Sugar Creek at Brandywine. This is back behind Park Road Shopping Center, Amelie's. This looks fine. I do have reports that Amelie's, actually, because if you've been to the Park Road Shopping Center, Amelie's is down in that basement area. There was water coming down the stairs. But more on that to come. New picture from McMullen Creek, at Addison. Again, the water is still very high here in portions of those pictures from South Charlotte in particular. Stewart Creek at West Moorhead Street. I don't think we've looked at this one yet. The creek is swollen. Doesn't look like it is flooded into this nearby soccer field. But these cameras do help us understand some of the impacts. And again, we got to wait for this water to go back down. This map shows us in particular which gauges are at a alarming flood stage, right? Because when the National Weather Service says automated gauges are reporting flooding, this is what they mean. So we have this one here at CMC. No, I'm sorry. We have this one here in Uptown. Rain accumulation of 17 inches. That doesn't sound. That's not right. That's not right. That can't be right. That doesn't make any sense. Hold that thought. Hidden Valley. What? Is that like total rainfall accumulation since the beginning of time? This is rainfall accumulations. There's no way it rained 24 inches. I'm going to open my chat field now if anybody wants to help me understand what that's supposed to mean. This makes more sense. Okay. An inch and a half. Yeah, I'll buy that. Okay. I'll figure it offline later why some of these are doing weird things, because I simply don't know. I mean, I do think, based on what we've seen, right? We do think, yeah, islands weather. There's no way those accumulations, right? Yeah, I'm either reading it wrong or it's labeled wrong, because that's now. I don't want to diminish. There is flooding happening. I just think the actual number that we are getting from those is wrong, and I think there's a problem with the website display. I absolutely think there is flooding happening, because if we switch to this view, this is rainfall amounts that have fallen. Okay, so like 2 inches in Uptown, that makes more sense to me. This is that same gauge, 2 inches. That's a lot of rain to come down in an hour. We have 3.5 inches here near Winterfield Elementary. We have 1 inch marks for a lot of the county, a lot of the area where that warning is in place. I do have a question in chat from Daryl. What about Matthews? Matthews, we're like pretty just on the outside of this. It missed us. Here's a 4-inch rainfall accumulations at the USGS office. So I'd like to think this one's calibrated real nicely. At South Boulevard and Tivolo Road. Near-ish to 77. This is going to be Alexander Middle School here. Okay. So Alexander Middle School has 3 4/10 of an inch of rain. We were talking a minute ago about Amelie's Park Road Shopping Center. That's right over here. Okay. So we're matching up some of the cameras to where some of the rainfall accumulations are. Freedom Park, 2 8/10, if you will allow me to round. Okay. So we're definitely seeing amounts up to and beyond 4 inches in Mecklenburg County. So that's why this considerable flash flood warning has been issued for, at this time, at least Mecklenburg County. And it's possible that could get expanded to other areas. So again, we want you to have multiple ways to receive severe weather warnings as we go on through the night. NOAA Weather Radio, your phone, and also our Carolina WeatherNet will continue to stream on YouTube. So you can watch radar, sky cams, get real-time warnings wherever you watch YouTube, from your smartphone to your smart TV. We're going to send you back over to that if you're with us here on YouTube. It will have, again, live severe weather warning. So if this flash flood warning needs to be expanded, or if we continue to get flood reports, those will all come in for you. But for now, I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. Thanks for joining me for this Carolina Weather Group special report, and I will talk to you again real soon. Stay safe out there and have a good night.